Hey guys, welcome to Game Tour. Gotta give you a quick description. Game Tour is not Boundary Break. Boundary Break is more reserved for an overproduction with more chances to see stuff that we've never seen before. But Game Tour is a little different. It's just going to be zoom ups or tours of certain levels in certain games. And the commentary is going to be a lot more relaxed and unscripted so that I can get this out quick and I can move on to the next Boundary Break. So as you probably have noticed already, I'm actually doing a game tour of Super Smash Bros. Wii U. Full credit goes to two people. One is the man who actually made the mod, who I discovered to be Jam1 Garner, and I hope to get him onto a future episode. I really want to talk about modders and what they go through to be able to provide this stuff for people. I feel like they're the unsung heroes of gaming culture. And the other is Dungleberry. He's the guy that compiled the mod for me, told me about the mod, and basically gave me all the instructions that I need to be able to provide this for you guys. So a big help from him, and I absolutely appreciate it. So you may be saying, hey dude, this was supposed to be a Boundary Break episode, what's going on? Well, I got a little too excited a little too fast, and I found that the limitations of the camera right now are not really good for a Boundary Break episode. It is excellent for a Game Tour episode, absolutely. But until I'm able to zoom past characters, maybe even possibly remove draw distance filters, it's just not quite there yet. And the production of the episode just would not be up to my standard of quality. So maybe someday. And if it does happen, I'll absolutely be right on top of it. Having a mod that can remove fog is not that important. It would be really nice for the episode. But I'm going to tell you right now, some of the stuff that I've already seen, I'm like, oh, I wish I could just zoom into that. I just want to see what's going on there. It's tough. It's such a tough pill to swallow. So Midgar is a stage in particular that I wish I could get a better look at. But from what we can see, you can see that actually the stage is not floating in midair. It's suspended on some type of girder, which I thought was a really nice touch. And there's a lot of detail that you might have already seen underneath the stage. Nothing in particular that's of interest, but there is a lot of rendered objects that you can't normally see. But right now, the way the camera works is that it will zoom out very, very far, but it will not allow you to go anywhere you'd like. So yes, I can bring the camera out backwards into the stage, but unfortunately the way that games typically work, all the details are going to be facing forward and everything facing backwards is not going to be rendered in, so it wouldn't be particularly interesting. And this blinding light that seems to cast over the characters in every single stage, it makes it even more uncomfortable to take a look at it from that perspective. So the Great Cave Offensive is actually a particularly interesting stage. For one thing, I didn't even know that there was a castle going from the bottom and just rising all the way up to the top. But what I also didn't notice, and maybe it's just because there's just so much going on in the stage, but there's actually a pretty detailed castle-like room going on in the bottom left. And granted, to a much lesser extent, you can see these stalactites in the background at any time, but zooming out the map, you can see that there's a lot more stalactites than you would probably initially think. Alright, this is a viewer request, Skyloft from The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and it's a lot what you would expect. It's almost a complete rip from the actual game, but I decided to include it because it allows you to see the scope in which the stage is actually present compared to the actual fighters on the stage. So one cool thing about the Pokemon stage that I found is that the platform in which you fight on is actually identical to the stained glass ceiling windows. And here's a camera pan to give you a good idea of the scope of the room. The Yoshi's Woolly World stage is one that I picked in particular because I actually saw that there's spools of yarn on the far left and the far right side of the stage. Does anybody else find it strange that there's a Wrecking Crew stage in Smash 4? A modernized version of it, no less? Well, allow me to make this even stranger by adding to the fact that this level has an entire rendered city in the background. Now, I always imagined that it was just really high-def pictures of buildings, but no, they actually built an entire city behind this stage. Once the free camera technology improves, this is obviously 100% going to be the first place I check out. Insane. So I admit the commentary in this episode is going to be a little unusual, but I'm very excited to share with you guys that I actually got in contact with Jam 1 Garner. You know, the person who's most largely responsible for allowing us to do this episode. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. And so I asked him if he wanted to be on the show. He explained that communicating through Skype wouldn't really be necessary, but he was very happy to explain how this mod works. So I'm going to recite that for you now. His explanation, and I quote, is basically in every stage folder there is a file called /param/stagename _ stprm.bin that contains parameters, a file commonly used for storing simple data in Wii U and 3DS. This file has a couple of values that corresponds to maximum and minimum camera angles and maximum and minimum zoom. So I just had to set these values to the values needed to make the camera unrestricted. I wrote a Python script in order to search through folders for stprm files. I think that stands for stage parameter. And then go to value, change it, and save it. I have a basic script outline I wrote for translating param files to Python structure, which makes it super easy to modify it however I want, and then back to a param file. I use this as a base for stuff like this, as it makes doing scripts like this really easy. I also built my character select screen editor off of this, and my currently unreleased stage editor, and stage select screen editor, which is fascinating stuff. Now I know a lot of you are probably saying to yourselves right now, I have no idea what the hell he just said. And that's fine. That's totally okay. The takeaway from this then is that what these people do to provide a free mod takes an incredible amount of intelligence and dedication. And I believe that deserves a whole world of respect. He also wanted me to credit another person that was partially responsible for this, which was someone that goes by the name of DSX8, who helped a ton because he used his research to script it. And I also asked him, you know, is it possible to ever expand on this camera idea so that we can do it for a boundary break episode? And he said to the effect of he might be able to adjust the zoom in so that we can go past the character and into the stage, which would be great, but he's not sure. I'm quoting him verbatim here. But I'm afraid that further camera freedom, aside from what I already made but to a greater degree, won't be possible for a while. Pause stuff is in the RPX. It won't be very editable for a while. That is basically the executable of the game. If new stuff comes out about camera hacks, he'll probably update his hack accordingly. So it might be a while too. He's working on a stage editor right now, which is very cool also. I'm glad that he's still at work on this. So it's likely going to be sometime before we ever see a boundary break episode for Smash Wii U. But I hope that what I'm providing with you right now is able to satiate you until then. Now look at me ramble. I talk so much that we've actually moved on to a different Smash Brothers game. Alrighty. So this was a highly requested stage. This is Onett. I do pronounce it Onett, not Want and not Onett. Onett. I'm on it, boss. And someone said, hey, I want a very in-depth game tour of Onett, please. And to that I say, what? You want a game tour of one of my favorite levels from one of my favorite video games of all time? Yeah, alright, I can do that. No problem. Hey, am I the only one that ever thought, like, how great it would be to have a console remake of Earthbound? Like, don't do too much to the game. Maybe allow an option to play the fights in third person or first person so that purists can still play the way they wish to play, or people that were always turned off by the first person gameplay now has an avenue in which to be more excited about a new Earthbound. But I would love to have an Earthbound remake on the Wii U or the NX. You wouldn't even need Shigesato Itoi for that. I mean, the game on Super Nintendo is already there. That's essentially the blueprints for what you could do for this remake. Alright, so we're almost all the way up the hill, and we're going to see the meteorite that was at the beginning of Earthbound. One thing to note, though, is that on top of this hill, I don't know if you've been counting, but there's actually 4 houses instead of 3. There should only be 3 houses on top of the hill. There should be Ness's house, Pokey's house, and Liar Exaggerate's house. And I'm pretty sure that's it. So actually, geographically, they got that part wrong. Actually, geographically, they got a lot of stuff wrong with this this stage layout. But I'm 100% certain that was on purpose, and that they did that so that you could see a lot of Onett's landmarks, to which you would not be able to see otherwise if they were geographically accurate. So the reason why Big Blue got the cutting room floor for every single episode that was Melee related is because while there are some stages that actually have the entire stage rendered, no matter how big it is, Big Blue is not one of those stages. So as you can see, Big Blue pops in its tracks, which is still pretty cool looking from far away. And you know what? There are some cool things to Big Blue that I kind of gave no credit to. Like for example, in the background here, there is this crane or oil derrick just chilling in the background. There are also biodomes with cities inside of them, which is pretty cool. And I don't know if you noticed, but some jerkwads spill gallons of craft glitter into the ocean. It's so sparkly! So Pokefloats is another stage that got a cut because I couldn't find anything particularly revolutionary within the stage. Now there could be some stuff, but I couldn't find it. But one of the things that is really interesting about the stage is that when you zoom it out, it kind of looks like an 80s fantasy film VHS cover. I love it. I could have this as my background on my desktop. And I don't mean to be a broken record here, but basically there's just nothing inside this stage that is particularly revolutionary. But if you zoom it out, you can see that the waterfall goes down quite a ways, which is kind of amusing. It's definitely one of those stages that just looks really good when you're playing it from very far away. So a viewer said that I should end every game tour with an impersonation or two. So yeah, fuck it. Alright man, let's do it, alright? This is gonna probably be the most annoying thing. It's probably gonna amuse one person, and that person's probably me. But, alright, let's do it. So here's Krillin and Frieza. Now, again, I'm not a professional impersonator, so a lot of these are gonna be terrible.
Hey Frieza, you wanna come to my kid's bar mitzvah? I can't. I've got to stop those stupid Super Saiyans. Plus, I am anti-Semitic. Oh, that's evil. I hate you, Frieza. I keep forgetting you all have the same similar name. Goku, where are you? He can't help you now. I can't do his voice. I can't even do my own voice. I'm starting to sound like a Mexican.
I've got to get so much hate in the comments section. I can already see it. Alright guys, I'll see you later. Boundary Break episode's gonna be way, way better, I promise. Alright, bye.